Okay, well, our next guest is a neighbor of mine, actually, Diane Lyoness. We have a lot of talented writers in town. People are writing books all the time, and we try to expose some of those people. Not expose. What's the word I want? Do you feel exposed?
No.
Introduce them to the people, because we are a very talented community artistically. So Diane has written a book called The 13th Configuration. And there's, I don't know if you can get that, Fern. Is that okay? Good. So she's just, how long has it been out?
November, the end of November of last year.
Right, so it's not been out, not even a year yet.
No.
Yeah, it's called The 13th Configuration. Why did you choose that title?
I didn't choose that title. The title chose me.
Okay.
Before I'd even planned on writing the book, I had this title in my head because all my life, the number 13 seemed to follow me around. I didn't like the number, but it just seemed to follow me around. I went to 13 schools growing up, 6 of them by the end of grade 3. And then I was in the hospital on my 13th birthday from a terrible car accident that actually I flatlined and was revived. And from that, just changed my entire life completely from there. And as far as the configuration part, in order for me to cope with all of the change and trauma that I was going through growing up, I was constantly reconfiguring my persona, my expectations to fit into the current environment that I was in at the time.
Mm-hmm. So why did you write it?
I didn't plan on writing a book when I started. I was writing memoirs because I thought I was getting Alzheimer's. My memory was starting to go. This was in 2013, again. I started writing my memoirs for a legacy for my granddaughters. And I just, as I went on, I found it cathartic to write. It's a bunch of short stories of both grief and humor. And I just wanted them to know, they only know me as Grandma. They don't know what I've been through and the mistakes I've made. So I just wanted them to have a map of how I came to be me when they grow up.
Now, you spent a lot of time in hospitals because of your accident.
Yes.
I read the book, and a lot of the book was talking about your physical pains that you went through your operations and things like that. Mm-hmm. So how much of your life was spent?
So the accident was in 1966, and I was in and out of hospitals a lot from 66 to 86. I had a broken left femur, and the femur's the largest bone in the body, so it took a long time to heal. I was in a body cast. Then when the cast came off, the next year my left leg was shorter than my right leg. And they tried to fix that, so that was a couple more surgeries. In total, in that time, I had 7 surgeries, and the third one was a leg lengthening experiment in London that didn't turn out well. I wouldn't recommend it. But through all of this, insanity, I found that in every crisis, there's a window of opportunity for a change in your path. And a lot of that is my philosophy of life now, that everything happens for a reason.
Now, you say you wanted to pass this on to your grandchildren and people like that. And when you're writing a memoir, it's a lot of personal things.
It is.
And you have to sort of edit in your mind what you leave in and what you leave out. How did you go through that process of...
Well, as I said, when I started, I didn't plan on publishing it. So I was writing everything that I could remember that was significant in my life and impacted me when I looked in the mirror. And so there's a lot, I did write of guilt and shame, things that I'd never shared with anyone before, because as I said, I found it cathartic. But then as I went through it, I realized that, hey, there's a lot of people in the world that have these same kinds of things that they don't want to share for fear of judgment. So I put it all out there, and yeah.
Now, getting the book from what you've written to printed, tell me the process in that.
Okay, so when I did, first of all, I thought, I want to get this printed just for my family and friends or whoever. So I started looking into the process of self-publishing. I looked at Friesen, who published the Harry Potter books. I looked at, I ended up going with Telwell Publishing in Vancouver, and they guide you through. They have various different packages, from just getting the ISBN numbers and guiding you through the process, all the way up to doing marketing and everything for different prices. And I took a medium one where they helped me with the book cover and all that. And yeah,
I know that there's a lot of people in the audience, and I'm sure you'll agree, that people come up to them and say, you know, you really should get your life story down. You've had such an interesting life, you should write about it. What advice would you give to people that want to do this?
Oh, definitely. Everybody has a story, and I would definitely advise you to write it, whether you publish it or not. And if you do publish it, it's amazing. The most amazing part of my publishing my book is the number of women who I never knew before, or I just knew a little bit, who contacted me and wanted to share their story because they felt comfortable that someone else has been through something like this before. So I've met so many people, and I think that ended up being, I didn't know why I was writing it in the beginning, but now I feel that that's why. And now going forward, I'm getting into women's advocacy.
Great. Now you have an event at the library next week. Tell me about it.
I do. I will be doing a reading and book signing on July 7th, next Saturday, at 1:30 p.m. upstairs in the St. Mary's Library. And yes, and you can purchase the book in St. Mary's at Lauren Whitney, or at Fanfare in Stratford, or Coles Festival Marketplace, or from me, but I will have them for sale at the library as well.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming in.
Okay, thank you.